recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive.
All right, welcome to the Patriot Hour for Sunday evening. We got SJG in the room tonight. We're going to jump right in with him in a minute here. I just wanted to tell you I'm going to have his link down below. Other than that, we got some important information for the Patriot Fest coming up in August 14th and 15th. Totally free event at the in conjunction with our local Legion. We're doing the flag retirement. If you've never been or seen one, we've talked about how great of an experience it is to see these flags put to rest. We do the 21 gun salute. It's official government protocol for retiring flags that have seen their use. So other than that, we got the special guest that's going to be flying in and doing a 2-hour after our show that Friday evening outside of the pavilion with all of you Patriots from the channel that can show up and make it. And then for those of you at home that will be joining in, we're going to have JT Wild. He's coming down. He's going to do a 2-hour Friday night set live. We're going to show that on the channel. And then for those of you there in person. And then after all that shuts down, we'll probably, he'll be there. We'll have some music by the campfire and everything else that goes on that Friday evening. It's going to be a great time. Again, make sure you get on the email list for it. Patriots with an S, Fest 2020 at Gmail. Get that, and we'll get back to you with links and everything else for the event. And we're going to need to raise a little bit of funds for JT. And I got his PayPal. It's not down below yet. I meant to do it right before we got off here, but I am having some... we needed to get on with the show, and I'm having a few technical difficulties, honestly. But without further ado, brother, what's going on?
What's going on, man? What's going on? Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to hanging out with you. It's going to be a fun little Sunday fun day stream.
Heck yeah, folks. This is, again, for those of you who don't know, SJG, we do a Monday panel. I'm not going to be able to be in tomorrow. I don't think you were either right before, right?
Nor am I.
Yeah, I saw you had school event.
Yeah.
We're all busy, folks, and we do what we can when we can. And the rest of the guys on the panel, we all have our own angle. We're all just trying to get the truth out. What is, for my viewers, what is your... passion or angle? And I've actually been to your channel, and I love the stuff now, but even early on when you got in, you did a lot of parody stuff, which I love. I love that stuff. So why don't you take a minute and tell everyone why are you here? Not so much tonight on this, but why are you in a presence online, and what's your main thing?
So at the end of, I think it was 2018, at the end of 2018, I just, with all the cultural craziness going on, like the cultural, for lack of a better term, cultural Marxism, the wokeness of PC stuff, I just was losing my mind with it because it was so insane. And I had a young daughter that's getting ready going into junior high, and she has all these friends that identify as this or trans that and this, and you can't say this and you can't say that. And I've always been a very non-PC person. And I just had to get duct tape out and wrap it around my head because it was going to explode. So I got on to just start to point out the hypocrisies in the different tiers of what's acceptable and what's not, and who gets away with what and who doesn't, to point out the silliness of this political correct crap that is being the agenda that's being shoved into our mind. And so that's really where I pushed hard. That's really what kind of got me into it. Also, the political stuff too. That's been always, I've always been right leaning, conservative. But I've also been kind of I also don't trust my government, and I'm not just sipping all the Kool-Aid either. So I got into doing that. I do music, and I've always done music, and that's kind of a passion for me. And so I like to make people laugh. I like to be irreverent. So then I started doing some parodies and got a lot of traction with those, and people really started laughing. I haven't done any for a while, but I have some on the burner that I'm trying to get done. It's just they take a lot of time. So that's kind of why I did it. And then I got connected with Drone Tech, and then with Robert, and then the American Joe, and then through American Joe U, and that's kind of been my push. It's not been to try to make the best thumbnail or try to make sure I rank high and all that. It's like trying to get networked with other like-minded people, because then you get my whole thing was then you get real fans or real subs that are, dedicated and follow you and, are connected. So that's kind of why I got into it. And I know you have some of the, kind of outside of the box thinking when it comes to, politics, or when it comes to, like 9/11 or different conspiracies and things like that really aren't, are true, but you get mocked if you try to bring any logic to people and say, listen, look at the facts. So that's also been me. I actually have a series that I want to do on like 9/11 and some other things. And for everybody out there, just so you know, we can still be friends. I'm one that has a series on how I don't think we landed on the moon, and I don't take it too seriously to where I'm going to lose friends over it, but I like to debate people with it and have fun with it, because I don't think our government tells us the truth, and it bothers me. And so if and ultimately, I don't know how big of a deal we can make on that, or a change we can make, but we can raise our voices and say what we think. And that's the other thing. I'm a huge proponent of like the First Amendment, and freedom of speech, and then obviously the Second Amendment. But these are the things that I was losing my mind. I've been losing my mind on when it.
Well, what do you think of while we're on that real quick, we'll touch base on First and Second. You ever heard the term from people that, well, the Second Amendment back then, that wasn't thought of, or what you have today wasn't around back then, but they didn't mention any gun, but we know that the black powdered musket was the most powerful weapon at the time, and people owned several of those. There was no restriction either. So what do you think of that when people say things have evolved and you shouldn't own a tank, or they didn't think of the things?
I think you should own a tank. If you have the money to own a tank, that'd be rad. Why can't you? Yeah. Here's the thing. If you're a good person, you're not going to use your tank to go blowing up your neighbors and going and killing people. You're going to use it for God knows what. I mean, but there's not a lot of practicality in owning a tank. I mean, in the sense of everyday usage, but who cares? If good people don't want to use their guns and don't want to use their weapons to do bad things to good people, right? It's the bad people that want to do it. And the whole argument of like, well, they didn't have automatic weapons or semi-automatic weapons back then. You're right, but it was 1 for 1. They had muskets, right? They had Gatlins. They had all these other kind of things. And so the Second Amendment doesn't talk anything about, the type of weapon. It says it shall not be infringed. The right to keep and to bear arms shall not be infringed. Of course, it's going to grow and it's going to morph as technology grows and morphs. And so it isn't about constraining it, and it's not about hunting. This other thing that people throw around saying, well, you don't need an AR-15 to go hunting. That's not a hunting rifle. Well, technically, depending on the caliber, you can actually use an AR for going hunting if you wanted to. I know people that do, but it's not about hunting. The Second Amendment was never about hunting. It was about a government. It was about defending yourself and against a tyrannical government. And if you read the Federalist Papers and you read these other articles, not just the Constitution, right, not just the Bill of Rights, you understand that the intention was the context and the intention was to be able to defend yourself, right, from enemies, quite frankly, foreign and domestic. And so you're supposed to protect yourself. And people, we hear some people talk about it, but it gets lost in the weeds sometimes, where it says, Japan not wanting to invade because there was a gun behind every blade of grass, these kind of things. Our right to our guns has kept people out there like, I don't know if we want to. Of course, the military could come in and whoop because they have technology that's far and above what we have, obviously. But look how good the Taliban has done in Afghanistan. Look how good these militias that we're fighting over in the sand, these sand pits that we shouldn't be. But look how well these small grouped, freedom fighters have done against well-equipped armies. They get their ass kicked a lot, but they do push them back too. So that's a stupid argument too.
Well, so I would tell you, a lot of times you're hearing these other people that will say things like you just went over and covered really well. And they're doing it on social media. Now, do you think for the First Amendment that like YouTube or Facebook was thought of? Isn't that their same theory kind of on how things have evolved? Like, well, the First Amendment was about free speech. And back then all they knew of was standing on your court steps and screaming at the top of your lungs. And
Public
as far
square.
as the voice can be heard. Now today you can get on social media and be heard over in China. So maybe they didn't intend for that.
Yeah, well, thank you, Jack Dorsey, for proving our point. When Jack Dorsey came out and he said, social media is the new public square. It is the new public square. So it's kind of a thing where he shot himself in the foot in some ways when he said that, because I am not for government getting involved in private in speech or or in regulations, right? Like, I believe we should have a smaller government and stay out of the business's way. Having said that, when it comes to what the big tech is doing to free speech, right? I think, and so I straddle a line a little bit, to be honest, where it's like, do we want government to get involved and to put some restraints on them so that they can't be censoring us like they are, the right and the conservative voice? And anybody who thinks they aren't, you're full of crap. I mean, it's not even up for debate that there is a concerted effort against conservative people and the point of view. But no, the social media and so on and so forth, big tech, that is the new public square. So I'm not a proponent of hate speech. I don't believe it exists. I believe you just have speech. I'm not for these laws that say that's a hate crime. All crime is hate. Any violent crime is a hate crime. I don't care if you're doing it against a black person or a gay person or a yellow person or a brown person.
The minute you take a big pin and jab somebody, it's an assault pin. You can put the word assault behind anything at that point.
Right.
Once, you assault. That's why when you beat somebody up, what do you get charged with?
Right.
Assault.
Exactly. Right. Right.
If they charge you, if you want to press charges, yes. And then they're going to write it down as he took his fist and pounded the man in the head. We're going to charge him with assault.
Absolutely.
But up until that point, nobody's talking about, chopping off.
Last time I checked, crime was, beating somebody up or any kind of violent crime was already illegal. That was already illegal. So now we have to make it illegal, by if you're motivated because this person has a different color skin and you beat them up, opposed to if you're motivated because this person cut you off and you jump out of your car and you beat the hell out of them. It doesn't matter. Crime is crime. Yeah. And so
you could probably agree on this. All them laws they try to put out for the guns, like they did in Chicago, which is less than 90 miles from me. They're like, we're going to ban, and it only affects the law abiding that turn in all their guns. Because the shootings happen every night. Well, I thought guns were banned. It's crazy. I mean, it's like almost, and I hate to do this, but it's like, are you willing, there's an ongoing, rape epidemic in the country, SJG. Are you willing to get castricized to help the ongoing rape? You're like, well, I haven't raped anybody. I know, but we just want to get yours off the market, and maybe then you'll never do it. I don't know what their thinking is.
There is a none of these people. They say, "Oh, see, he's racist." Said these people. I just mean that in general. That is a non descript of everyone. They're going to get their criminals are going to get their hands on guns because criminals already can't have guns. We already have the laws. We have too many laws on the books. We have plenty. We just need to enforce them. But they're going to get their hands on the guns whether or not we want them to get their hands on. Look what they're doing in the UK right now, where they're trying to ban knives. They've literally banned knives over there because there's too many people getting stabbed. So now when they sell knife, it can't be a sharp, pointy knife. You got to have kind of dull knives, which is nothing more aggravating than to try to cut your steak with a dull knife. Makes you want to shove it in your eyeball. But, the fact of the matter is now they're banning knives, and they were talking about banning cars because too many people were driving into them. Well, how about we have this conversation? Who is doing the majority of the knifings? Who's doing a majority of the driving, using a car, a 2-ton missile to kill people? Who's doing the majority of that? Who's throwing acid in people's face? Oh, we can't have that conversation. We can't look at the facts. We can't say that this immigration, this welcome open door immigration policy has contributed to that at all. We can't say that. We just have to ban knives now. Well, look how well that's worked out. And see, this whole thing about them going after it, we just want the assault weapons. Well, what the F is an assault weapon anyway?
Any gun that is used, you assaulted somebody, but there's nothing pre-existing, folks.
Right.
I always say it. Gun doesn't kill man. It's the heart of man that kills. Honestly, I mean, it's and you're gonna do that. So we can take it over to, like, I think somewhere in Africa, maybe Zimbabwe, they banned, even the police officers have guns no more, but everyone's carrying around machetes. And guess what? Now arms are chopped to the nibs. You see, they've been doing that over there. So it's like you take down, if you only had man with hand, you'd end up wanting to chop their arms off because they're going to be doing bad things with their hands eventually if they want to kill somebody. So,
yep. And they don't just want to stop there. I mean, that's the easy target. But AR-15s kill, like, I want to say less than 1,000 people a year are killed by an actual assault weapon out of the 30 or 40,000 people that die. The majority of gun deaths are used by handguns.
Yeah, that's easy to conceal.
Easy to conceal. Yeah, and if you think they're going to stop with the ARs or the rifles, you're full of shit, because they're not going to stop there. They want the handguns. And here's another statistic. I know I'm bouncing all over the place, but here's one you don't hear from the left hardly ever at all. But, there is studies out there from the CDC and from Department of Homeland Security, I believe it is, that state that 500,000 on the minimum, on the very, 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 very minimum, 500,000 to as high as some studies say 3 million. Defensive uses of guns saves lives a year. So 500, let's just go with 500. Let's forget the upside of that, right? Which is probably closer to a million and a half. But let's just use 500,000. 500,000 people's lives are saved every year from the defensive uses of guns, and yet 30,000 people die every year, which half of that about is suicides, and the other large percentage is gang violence. So you have a very minute, like let's say between 5 and 10,000 people a year die from, handguns or from guns, right? 500,000 people's lives are saved, and you're going to try to look me in the eye with a straight face and tell me that you care about people's lives, and so that's why we need to ban guns. It is the biggest bullshit lie in the world.
Yeah. Well, period. Just like they do for immigration, Walmart, these corporations act like they care, or the left. They're not. They're not compassionate. They want the new group of people for voting. They want it for cheaper labor. That's why the corporations get behind it. Because if they cared about anything, they could send money, portion of their profits down to feed people and do things. They do not care, folks. It's about bringing in a different. I don't honestly care about the border as far as the in all honesty, the hungry child or woman or even man. That's the least of my concern. It's the drugs that are killing and destroying neighborhoods and towns and families. And the human trafficking. I mean, in the United States alone, we have 800,000 kids go missing a year. Out of the 800,000, 600,000 are accounted for. Whether it's a neighboring state and the uncle took the kid and they find it, or a disgruntled court case where the wife got the custody and the dad's so bitter he took the kid and ran 3 states over. But so out of the 800 in the FBI's own documents, 600,000 are accounted for, 200,000 vanish. No bone traces, no teeth records, nothing. It's like they almost vanish off the face of the earth. But we know what's happening. They're getting siphoned out of the border, put into the sex trades. So 200,000 a year, folks. We need to do something. And when I hear this, people are like, oh, it won't work here. It's a stupid waste of money. I beg and differ that we've had troops and soldiers in other countries building, fighting their civil wars, helping at their borders. They need some help. We got to go. And then building their fences ultimately, and eight different countries. When lots of those come back with 99% success rates, and it seems to work everywhere else. Our money works, our troops work, and our borders work everywhere else, but it won't
What
work
about Hungary?
here.
Didn't Hungary put a fence up for their like crazy amount of immigrants that were the refugees that were coming in, and it worked there.
And I understand some of these borders have their military on them and they shoot to kill, and everyone's like, well, they also have a shoot to kill order. And I'm like, well, I mean, along with everything else, I mean, it seems to be working. I don't know about the shoot to kill, implementing that in ours. I wouldn't suggest it. I'm not that crazy, but all right. So we're 20. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right, we're about 22 minutes in.
We wouldn't have to go that deep.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. If we do everything else and not do the shoot to kill order, I think we'd be a lot better than what we are. And guess what? If we do all that building up of our border infrastructure and really trying to, if it doesn't work, we're in no different position than what we're in right now already. So and then everyone's like, well, then we just wasted a bunch, and that's where I get ticked off. And I'm like, no, you don't, because there's so much money.
We waste money like crazy. Yeah. Anyways, it wouldn't be a waste. We'd stop them. Anyways, go ahead. You said
all right. We're gonna jump ship or shift a little bit here. I know before we got in, we were talking a little bit, which I think is interesting. We can play off a little bit. We were having a little pre-talk about dissenters or people that are possible former insiders. What does that mean, everybody? Well, I got a little video here I'll play, and we're going to kind of pause it and we'll talk a little bit. I don't know if you've seen this one. I got our pictures up over it, so let's take a listen here.
I think that at the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian. And always has been. Because how do we call a liberal? You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism. And what is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation. Well, isn't this the liberal philosophy? The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
In 1943, the following directive was issued from party headquarters to all communists in the United States. It read, when certain obstructionists become too irritating, label them after suitable build-ups as fascist or Nazi or anti-Semitic, and use the prestige of anti-fascist and tolerance organizations to discredit them. In the public mind, constantly associate those who oppose us with those names which already have a bad smell. The association will, after enough repetition, become fact in the public mind.
My name is William Cooper. Between the years 1970 and 1973, I served on the intelligence briefing team of the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Pacific Fleet, who at that time was Admiral Bernard Cleary. I was attached to the Office of Naval Intelligence. I had a top secret, Q, sensitive compartmentalized information, security clearance, and actually had access and the need to know almost everything that the Admiral himself, the members of his staff, and many high-level government officials, and many high-level government officials,
Oh, this is a good one.
All right, so yeah, it's just a couple minutes of it here, folks. It's an excerpt I took out. So 6/28/01. This is like 3 months before 9/11. 3 months.
This is great.
How about that? They're doing the same thing today with Osama bin Laden, and that's where I've been getting at. Can you believe what you have been seeing on CNN today, ladies and gentlemen? Can you believe it? Supposedly, a CNN reporter found Osama bin Laden, took a television camera crew with him, went into Osama bin Laden's hideout, interviewed him and his top leadership, his top lieutenants and colonels and generals in their hideout. This is a CNN reporter with a camera crew. And he came out and told everybody, within 3 weeks, Osama bin Laden is going to attack the United States and Israel. Now, don't you think that's kind of strange, folks? You see, because the largest intelligence apparatus in the world, with the biggest budget in the history of the world, has been looking for Osama bin Laden for years and years and years, and can't find him. The FBI also, under the leadership of Louis Freeh, has been looking for Osama bin Laden for years and years and years and years and years and many years, and can't find him. Some doofus jerk-off reporter with a camera crew waltzes right into his hideout and interviews him.
Yeah. Yep.
And you know what his budget is? Zip, zilch, nothing. Now, that tells us two things. Either everyone in the intelligence community and all of the intelligence agencies of the United States government are blithering idiots and incompetent fools, including the entire apparatus of the FBI and all of their personnel, or they're lying to us. They're not looking for him at all. And the second is the truth. You see, the CIA created Osama bin Laden. They recruited him. They trained him. They found his leadership. They brought them all together. They showed them how to fight the Soviet Union in Afghanistan, and when that was over, they still continued to fund him and train him, and they're now using him to help bring about world government by making him the big boogeyman, because they can't use Saddam Hussein anymore. Did you ever hear of Osama bin Laden before you heard of Saddam Hussein? When did you start hearing of Osama bin Laden? It was after Saddam Hussein and Iraq were supposedly neutralized in the Gulf War, because they needed a new boogeyman. But they're not looking for Osama bin Laden, because I'm telling you right now, if I were the head of the Central Intelligence Agency, within 2 weeks I would have him dead or in custody without fail. Without fail. If I had those assets and that money, he would be mine. I would own his terrorist ass within 2 weeks without fail.
Yeah, seriously.
This
So
is truth,
serious.
folks.
God, this gets me
A
fired up.
reporter from CNN and his little camera crew got in to Osama bin Laden's secret hideout
Yeah.
and conducted an interview. If you don't believe me, tune into CNN. They're probably running it right now as I'm speaking. And if you believe it, you are one of the stupidest jerks that ever lived on the face of this earth.
Like Bill Cooper.
And whatever is going to happen that they're going to blame on Osama bin Laden, don't you even believe it.
Oh, man.
Hold on.
Think about that.
Now check this one out. Then I'm going to pause it. Go right into this.
BuzzFeed dug up an old quote from Donald Trump talking about a large-scale terror attack 19 months before 9/11. In his 2000 book, The America We Deserve, Trump wrote, "I really am convinced we're in danger of the sort of terrorist attacks that will make the bombing of the 1993 Trade Center look like little kids playing with firecrackers." Trump also mentioned the mastermind of the attack, writing, quote, "One day, we're told that a shadowy figure with no fixed address named Osama bin Laden is public enemy number one, and U.S. jet fighters lay waste to his camp in Afghanistan. He escapes back under some rock, and a few news cycles later, it's on to a new enemy and a new crisis." Trump.
Wait.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on a second. Is this really Trump before 9/11? Have you read this?
It's 2000 in his book.
Are we making this? Somebody, did you make
Nick.
this up, Mika?
Nick.
I did.
Did you make this up?
Yeah,
Nick,
exactly.
tell us it's over, right? Because
Will
you're
you
wrong
stop?
about everything.
Mika, stop. God.
I don't think it's over.
What's
I
that?
think
What's the
Trump and Ben
rage here? Will you
Carson
stop
No,
picking
it's
on
cute.
him?
I think it's cute.
Well,
go for it.
No, really quickly though. I mean, so Willie, that was
2000.
2000. In a book he wrote in the year 2000.
Well, it was published in 2000. He could have written it in 1999 for all we know.
Exactly. He might have
But
been
he'd
a bit
been
more
earlier.
precious.
So that book came out in January of 2000. So there's no way the book was written in 2000. Those guys are wrong. It was written in 99. Because if something's hitting Barnes & Noble shelves in January of 2000, 19 months before 9/11, most likely it was written at least throughout the year before.
Yeah.
So now did
probably
Bill Cooper predict, do you think? Did he just kind of put his hands on a little magic ball and predicted Osama? Or did Trump do it in that book, you think, 2 years before it actually happened? I mean, what do you think is going on there with a couple of those? Like Trump's book in January of 2000, we know September 11, 2001. I mean, what do you logically can explain those two fellows, Bill Cooper and Trump, for example? Like, how would they?
Well, I don't know about the Trump thing. That's the first I'd ever heard about that with the Trump thing. I'm pretty familiar with Bill Cooper and how he he died shortly after that. He was FBI raided his place.
Yeah, it was either October. I think November 1st or October. So September 11th, that thing that we listened to was, like earlier that summer, I think in June. Yeah. June. And then he kind of predicts it. I got a little bit more to play. But then, he gets killed later that year, 2 months after September 11th, or maybe 3 months. Yeah, 2 to 3 months.
Because he was calling some serious bullshit on 9/11. He was like, "We are being lied to. You're not getting the full story on this. This is not, and they were like, they knew he had a big enough following that they had to maintain the narrative and to control the narrative. They needed to get him out of the, they needed to off him.
Yes.
That's, they needed to get him away. But the Trump thing that's kind of weird to me. I don't know what exactly to say or think on that one, that he was predicting that too. Could have just been that he had a thumb, a pulse on what was going on, in the sense of like a little bit, because I know he's followed some, he's been considered a conspiracy theorist a little bit.
You ever heard, now this is something I've that the dude's like, he's got like a bat cave type thing. He's like a Bruce Wayne. Like literally he had a state-of-the-art thing built for the last 10 years or so where, he goes into a command center. He's got, I don't know, like 30 monitors and, really like, his money was good enough to do whatever. So I think he had like a command center built, but I would put the things I've read. Trump doesn't drink and has never done drugs. So he doesn't drink and he doesn't smoke. That's a high advantage in this game. So I watched your guys' live stream last night. Very, very good. Do you think a deep state exists? I know the guy you guys had on did not.
Absolutely. No, I had. And he goes, well, if it does exist, it's the bureaucracy. And I'm like, yeah. And there were so many questions I didn't get to. I stayed quiet because Robert was, Robert was, kind of frothing at the mouth. We let him go. But he's like our little attack dog. We're just like, sick him. But, I had a lot of.
You guys all did good. Even that guy, he was good. I don't highly disagree, or he had his opinions, or what he's landed on. So, but
and he was well spoken, and like you're right, he had some really good thoughts on some stuff too. But I absolutely believe in a deep state. I believe it's very closely tied to the military industrial complex. I believe if you look into, members of the CFR, Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, if you look at the high-level attendees of the Bilderberg. Now, these are all buzzwords of like tinfoil conspiracy hat wearing moron, right? Like when you talk about these things. But the facts of the matter are, those people that are in these kind of organizations and at the top tiers of these organizations are, in my opinion, the ones that are pulling the strings, and have let America be good for as long as for while it was useful. But now with the globalization, push, like going back to HW and all that stuff, the one world government, the globalization, they're the ones who are pulling the strings and wanting now to pull the carpet out from America because we're too strong. And we can't have a one world government with America being as strong as it is. So we need to make America fall, and so we can bring it up onto par with everything else and get this one world government going. So no, I absolutely believe in a deep state, and what exactly or who exactly is in it, I don't know, but I think that's it. The shadow government, the deep state, whatever you want to call it, it is absolutely a thing.
Yes. So I would agree. We can definitely agree on that. I would say to think that the most powerful people on the planet don't, if it is like, let's just say 13 of them or enough to fit around a nice table, folks, that they wouldn't get together and orchestrate and plan and try to, twist the outcome of the future. Why wouldn't they? If you own everything and then you're power hungry, who knows? So I wouldn't even say I wouldn't do that if I was in that position. To try to, and my agenda would be to try to, it'd be different. It would be the survival of everybody and my family and my friends and of all of mankind. That would be mine. But these other people possibly have a different agenda. Who knows? So it is funny that there's a lot of people in my own 20 years of doing this. Digging into things and actually having some access at points and being able to put some things together in my own mind. All throughout, so we only know things, a lot of the things you've probably dug into beforehand, that's gotten you to this point. Wouldn't you say, like, when I get down to arguing now and trying to break things down to people will come full circle, they'll listen, we'll have great discussions. This is off the channel, even in my personal life or things I'm preparing for the show. And then they get to, the government is bad. And then they want to blend Trump into it too. And I'm just like, well, he hadn't been around for any years. The only time he's been here has been such a resistance against him from what we can only, and I don't think the deep state's a lot of the people we see on TV. Those people are controlled, blackmailed.
They're deep.
Yeah. I mean, that's a poster child. There's people behind. We know from Edward Snowden's paperwork. Now, I can argue Edward Snowden isn't really a patriot, that he did work for the CIA. He was implemented over into the NSA, okay? There was a deep state war going on. The CIA literally put him into the position over there to release things and to create noise so the CIA can maybe get a little bit more power under their belt and move a little more freely. But regardless, what he released is true stuff, that the NSA had these programs. And if you even look at those folks and then verified other places, there is a government voted in, which is what we do. We partake in, we vote for people, even down to Pelosi's and Schumer's and stuff. But then there is an unelected deep bureaucrat behind that, okay, that we don't have nothing to do with. That is talked about. That's like the SES, all right, the Senior Enlisted Service.
Well, it's kind of like I'll use the CFR again. Like when Hillary Clinton had that, she was asked to come speak at the Council on Foreign Relations. She has that video, right? Yeah. And back when she was running for state, or she was Secretary of State, and she goes, I'm paraphrasing, but she basically says, I'm glad to know that you guys are just a few blocks away now. It'll be not very far away for me to go now, that easier for me to go and find out from you guys what we should be doing with our foreign policy, what we should be doing. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. So she just kind of let something slip there, and like, there's many people that have done that, but I use her for an example of saying, so wait, you're letting these people in these think tanks like the Council on Foreign Relations or the Trilateral Commission, you're letting these people tell you, Mrs. Secretary of State, and by default, the President of the United States, what we're going to and should be doing. And, instead of, so it just right there, it's kind of an out that the president and the ones we elect really aren't pulling the strings as much as we'd like to think they are. And I do always come back to the fact that, see, I didn't vote for Trump in 2016. I didn't vote. And I hate to say that, because I honestly just was like, I can't vote for either one of them, because I thought at the time I was like, man, I feel like Trump is a buffoon. Like, I just couldn't get behind it. I couldn't, I wasn't following the elections as much. I was wanting more like a Ron Paul or a Rand Paul or somebody like that. That's who I was pulling for, because more libertarian, get us out of war, all this smaller government. So that's who I was pulling for. But man, I was very happy he got elected, and me and my wife threw a party when he did, because I was scared shitless that Hillary was going to win, and we'd already be in a war, guys. If you think that, we wouldn't be in war with Russia or China or somewhere, nuts deep in the Middle East more than we are, we would absolutely. She is a war hawk. Look what she did in Libya. So I was happy he won. And when he won, I was like, okay, he's our president. I'm going to support him. And then I started really kind of following him more, and I'm now a big supporter of him. I don't think he does everything right. I'm not totally hip to everything he does, especially with some of this foreign policy stuff. I wish he would do what he said he was going to do and get us the hell out of these wars. Now it's back on the table where we're pulling out of Afghanistan. I really, really, really hope that actually happens. But I bet you there's a fall. I bet you there's going to be some bombing or some attack that happens, and it's going to make it. And all of a sudden, we need to stay. That's probably what's going to happen. Just like when we were going to get out of Syria, and then, oh no, something bad happens. As soon as they start saying we're going to get out of war, expect something bad to happen that makes us have to stay in there. But anyways. I was very happy. I've become a pretty strident supporter of Trump. And one of the things that I have been, as I've been, studying and then getting back into some of these, the deep state conspiratorial, if you will, shadow government stuff. Trump never really was a part of that. Yeah, he was rubbing shoulders. He used to be a Democrat. He's rubbing shoulders with people in New York and Blasio and all these other people he's donated money to and all this. But he wasn't part of this, the elite schools, secret societies. He's not been part of the, welcomed into like the Bilderberg organization. I mean,
I would say, like, real quick on that, like, if he's running, like, people really had an issue with the way he ran his businesses. That was one of the things, like, well, he took advantage of all this. I would say if he had 100 businesses going on in the 80s or 90s, and he's a businessman, right? He's not really in tune with the tax stuff. But if he was to come in at the end of the year for taxes, the 13 lawyers he impanels, like, he sits down, oh, hey, Mr. Trump, hi, Mr. Trump. Oh, hey, let's get this over with. Okay, Mr. Trump, we were looking at your businesses. Now, if you move money over to here and then do this, and then if you have one that had a loss, and if they can explain it to him the best they can in a 20-minute thing for him to sign it. And he'd be like, really? That's how it's all set up? If I move money here and do this and that, and then I don't pay so much? Wow, that's a really crooked way, but go ahead. Yeah, I'll sign it. I mean, because if I don't, then I'm stupid. Now, those bills are already being put in. So now they talk about the one that the business had that was a loss. They try to harm, like, look, he didn't pay taxes. He carried losses forward. Well, that's something that they were freaking doing. If he wouldn't have done it, they would have attacked him that he's a dumb businessman. A couple years ago when they brought this up, like, look, he could have filed losses and had maybe the business go another year and kept all the employees. Instead, he didn't. He filed this way. What an idiot. But now, since he did it that way, they bring up he filed losses. What a crook. And it's just like that's the law.
Yeah, exactly. And he came out and he said that. He was so blatant with that. That's the other thing I like about him is he doesn't try to really play these games with these. He hits right back. He smacks you right around. And he needs to be more presidential. No, he doesn't need to be more presidential. I'm glad because we don't need more presidential political BS. We need somebody who's just kind of, and I'm not saying he doesn't BS and whatnot and that he's all perfectly real, but I love the fact that he hits back. But my point was he's came right out and said, hey, I've used the laws that are on the books that are legal that you, Mr. and Mrs. Congressman and Mr. and Mrs. Senator, have put onto the books and so if you don't like that I'm using these rules,
if you don't like them, then why did you put them in? Everyone,
right. Do something about it and change them then.
And that's what he's even said. Maybe I didn't like them, and I'm going to change them. Oh, how funny that you don't like them now, and you're here to change them, but you used them 10 years ago. Well, I had to. I was a civilian like you.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing that most of the people I argued or heard arguing about that on my social medias were, and I'm not to hit anybody here, but it's like some of the single moms, he's a scam artist not paying taxes because he is a business owner that had a loss and carried him forward. I would argue with them, let me see your personal taxes. These people are like, oh, you paid $3,000 in the year in federal. You have 2 kids, you're going to file those kids and all this, you're going to get $9,000 back in federal. How do you get $9,000 when I see here you only paid $3,500 in for the year? I don't know, that's my right. I got kids. Okay, so in the late 70s, they did a funny thing in the taxes to get people to go back because there was a stagnant thing with the economy. Actually, jobs were coming back, but they were paying too low, and people sitting at home were looking like, oh, if I go get a job, I'll make just as much as sitting at home all year.
Right.
I might as well sit home.
Yeah.
So then they did a tax thing. If you have kids, you get this break and earned income or whatever. And people are like, well, that makes it worth it. Now I'm going to get $3,000 back if I go work all year, where I won't if I don't. So they went back to work. And then they talked about having that for a year or two. Well, guess what? That damn incentive's been around since 1978. Every year it's being threatened to be pulled away. And if they ever did pull that away, so many people would flip out here because they pay like $3,000 and get $3,000 or if that back. But as of now, lots of people pay $2-3 grand a year, $4,000, $5,000, and get 10 grand back. Where does that money come from? You didn't do it. You know, It's weird, man. It's like, argue it yourself. Go just get into a mirror and start arguing with yourself.
Right.
So let's go. I want to say this. Keep this in mind. We're going to get back to it. Former insiders, and what does it mean? We're kind of discussing that here. We got about 750 in the room. I see. Welcome all Patriots. We got SJG here. We're in. Yeah, it's a decent little hot
subs
tonight.
We got 750 people. Do you guys hate me that much, or do you just not want to sub?
Oh, I don't. Let me make sure they probably. Can one of my mods? Do I have a mod in the room?
Oh, that's all good. Man.
Let's get a mod to get SJG's channel blasted in here a little bit. Thank you, everybody.
You guys you got a great crowd though, man. Like, I mean, you know, you got a good. These are the kind of followers that people want. People that actually take the time to come hang out, man. And it's like, that also can think for themselves and be like, you know, like not just completely. You know what? I like your content. I've been starting to watch some of your videos, and I didn't realize that you were more on some of this kind of like. I hate to use the word conspiratorial because it's really truth, but like 9/11 truth and things like that.
Well, see, I was part of three things.
That's a hot.
In my time in the service, I was there for 9/11. Not like the buildings falling, but my ship turned into I was on the USS George Washington, and we got ordered to pull up there off of Coney Island for 3 weeks. We pulled in late on September 11th, early morning of September 12th, I guess. I was there for the JFK search, JFK Jr., plane wreckage, which the body was never found, and then a few other things we'll get into in the future. All right, folks. So let's take a look at this because we're on this topic. I would like to put out Bill Cooper, Phil Schneider, even Trump. Are these people former insiders, and what does that mean? Well, people that were possibly involved in things and then saw something and made a choice. Do I continue with it, or do I? That's what I find funny. A lot of the great men and women that did 20 years in the military had the highest clearances, and then maybe went and worked for a 3-letter agency, had some clearances. They were deemed credible. The minute they write a book or come out on, like, you know, we're talking here and try to warn you, I seen things and it's not good. And then I was like, oh, this guy's a conspiracist. They get their whole life is now just most of the time by people's own cognitive dissonance. You made a good point. Yes. I'll research something for 2 months or a week or even one day and talk to somebody that doesn't know anything. And they're like, all they know is they cut through the living room and on CNN they heard, well, that's not what the mainstream's telling me. There was a bomb under the car, and they'll stick to that. And I'm like, no, do you don't understand? Blah, 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 and you'll tell them all this stuff, and they're like, well, that's not what it's like. They don't know the research. They just know that they heard it, and people are so apt to listen to that journalist on TV as they're cutting through the living room, and they can wrap you up as a conspiracist. But you're like, I looked into that for 2 months. What did you got into it? And you're like, 2 minutes walking through the living room and repeating what CNN told me, but still prove me wrong. It's like everything, you know. That's the conspiracy. Is
it is.
You know, if there is one.
I'd love for you. We should do a stream together. I've been meaning to start a series on a 9/11 stuff, you know, and maybe we should start it a couple months for 9/11. But it's not one that I've ever heard before. But I want to go through them. I have 50. It's 50 points or 53 points, right? Of things that went into 9/11 that just don't make sense, and you rate them on the level of against the official story of, is it plausible, possible, or plausible, possible, or I forget. It's anyways, like, you know, is the official story here plausible that it was the official story?
Yeah, there's like 5, you know, the who, what, when, and where. But if you apply these to a story, and typically if they leave this one, I used to have something on that. I know what you're talking about. I've heard that.
I know. I'll
philosophy.
Pull it up while you're talking about. Were you going to play something else? Or did I?
Yeah, I got a little clip here. Again, another little Cooper. Let's listen to this one. I'm going to pause this one a little bit more so we can get some SJG feedback. Let's check this out, folks. Oh, I got to play it. Hold on.
Agency of the United States government. It's a private corporation owned and operated by the world bankers, controlled by the Illuminati, and its purpose was to destroy the middle class in this country and thus our economy and throw us at the mercy of the New World Order. There's no conspiracy. I mean, we talk about a conspiracy. It started out as a conspiracy. But when they say today there's no conspiracy, that's not a lie. It's the truth. They're doing it right out in the open, right under our noses, and we're too stupid to know it, to see it. So it's not a conspiracy now today, at all. It's right out in the open. They even published their plans.
Administration was one extreme, and then we came into the Reagan administration, yet
nothing changed.
Nothing changed. What you're saying is that no matter what the political leanings, they seem to be playing the same game.
As long as you're playing their game, it doesn't matter who you vote for, who you put in office. They all belong to the other side. They're in the pockets of the Illuminati. When you quit electing professional politicians, when you quit electing the guy who looks nice on television because he speaks good and he looks like the guy you wanted to marry or something like that, you're playing right into their hands. You know, they made it so impossible for another Abraham Lincoln to get elected to the office of president that it's a wonder that we even have a chance at all. We need to send people to Congress and to government who are going to clean house. Kick all the members of secret societies out of the bureaucracy. Lock them up. Try them for treason. Because they are traitors.
So one thing that may help is term limitations.
We must have term limitations, and it must be only one term. And forget all this nonsense that anybody who goes to Washington don't know what's happening. They don't know what's happening simply because they haven't taken the time as citizens to understand how our government works before they ever go to Washington. You see, it should be a process that starts in infancy. It works its way up. And everybody should be taking part in the government.
Now, if someone came in to office with this kind of knowledge and with this kind of intent to really push these people out, would they not be eliminated immediately?
Not if they have the people behind them, because what the people would do in one fell swoop, in one election, would elect people who've never served in government before, kick the incumbents out, send citizens to Washington. And here's the way it has to be done. You know, right now, you don't even pay your congressman. You know who pays your congressman? The federal democracy of the District of Columbia. The federal government pays your congressman, who's supposed to be representing your state and you. The federal government is a foreign country to your state. Why should he represent you?
I got a little more of that to play here in a minute, but I want to stop right there. This is what I try to break down to people. They don't get that you have to look into 1871 to know what happened when Abraham Lincoln inflicted the Insurrection Act because of what was going on in the country. You had different states wanting to, similar to what's going on now under Trump. We want to break free. We want to, come out of the Union. And there was all that talk going on under Abraham Lincoln as well when he was doing. So he inflicted the Insurrection Act, which allows him to go around and get other congressional people that were like going against him because it was like a coup. Very similar to what's going on now. But while he inflicted that 1807 Insurrection Act during 1871, he was killed, right? Remember? Abe Lincoln got shot. And that actually stayed active for a period of 10 years. Abe Lincoln was going to, resign to make it go back away. But once he got killed, and I think this was all part of the plan back then, was he did the insurrection, then they killed him. And then these evil tyrants or whatever sat there for a period of 10 years and basically wrote up their own constitution for DC. And then when they let down the Insurrection Act, this thing came up and put our constitution in the dustbin. That's why, the right to free travel was in the Constitution, straight up the right to free travel. Now we have licenses where it's all through the DC Act. When you look at this stuff, there's acts, provisions, everything but laws. I don't really call them laws. It's real funny wordage anyway, but that's where a dupage happened. Now, I hear Trump, this is where maybe I'm nuts, but I've listened to Trump, and I didn't listen to him as well as you. I thought when I first heard his name, it was just an actor like Reagan and a goofball, and he had no chance. But then you started listening to him, and I still hear it today. It's different than the typical, like when Obama beat or won, and you know, he would slam Bush with, you know, some reporter would say something, no, that was Bush policy. I mean, it was there's always that. They do a throwback to the last person or the economy, you know, well, things are better now. If you look under the last administration, I mean, that's about as much taunting to the last administration that they do. It was never these talks of jail, you're gonna treason, and
right,
pretty crazy words. So I never thought there would be this much resistance. If we are in a somebody like is trying to stop what's going on, that you'd have so many people like kicking and screaming to, like, you know, Trump, you know, we're not gonna have taxes anymore, and it's kind of like, no, we like our taxes, leave us alone. Right. It's like like I come in to save you from a jail cell and you keep pushing me away and trying to shut the cell, like, get out of here, get the key and go. I don't want to go with you. I don't want to be free.
Yeah. No, it's crazy if you think about, and see, that's the thing about, I don't see him. That's why he's so hated, is because what I think, why he's so hated, and everyone's like, he hasn't done anything in the first 3 years. He's barely done anything.
Yeah.
He hasn't had any support the last 3 damn years, you guys. He's been nothing. Every single buddy is going at him all the time with a new, some new, story that he did this or that he did that. This new, what's the word I'm looking for here? I can't think of the word right now. But basically, this new problem that he's caused. So he's constantly in defense mode. And now that this impeachment is finally ended, we've seen him go a little offensive and not have to be defensive. Now, I will say, I don't believe he's part of this systematic deep state like Bill Cooper has been talking about, but I don't fully know it yet. I'm going to be honest with you. I support our president. I'm believing in our president. I want to believe that everything he's saying he's going to do, he really is pushing against the swampiness, and that he does have a plan that has to be rolled out a little slower or whatever. I want to believe in that, but there is a part of my brain that's like, is he though just really faking us out and playing like he's all for the people, and really he's not? Well, I have to admit, I'm a little scared about that.
And it's words, right? It's words. It's like, so if I guess people that were really into Obama would have been listening to all his speeches and heard words. And I know I've gone back, and even at the time I did listen. You know, I was pretty in tune in 2008. Listening to the different people. So, okay, let's do this real quick here. Let's just keep moving forward. Listen to this a little bit.
This is a crazy time, isn't it? But this is, after all, an opinion and advocacy
while Trump's
show.
running.
And so here we go. A few thoughts now on why some GOP elites and establishment types are having a little trouble with a successful businessman, Donald Trump, as their party's nominee. First, he is the only presidential nominee ever who's never before been in public or military service, who has never sought any other elective office. And he was once, yes, a playboy billionaire, the opposite of most politicians these days. He made his money before, not after seeking office. The opposite of reserved and generally guarded business leaders, and because of his very public life for decades, he's been a media darling for decades. And he's turned his billions of dollars to his political advantage in this campaign, claiming those billions mean he can't be bought by special interests, Wall Street, or corporate America's lobbyists. Not only that, once dismissed by the elites of both parties and leftist mainstream media, he is now a full-on threat to the American establishment, whether political, business, media, or academia. The orthodoxies, the status quo, they hate him.
In my former life, I was an insider as much as anybody else. And I knew what it's like, and I still know what it's like to be an insider. It's not bad. It's not bad. Now I'm being punished for leaving the special club and revealing to you the terrible things that are going on having to do with our country. Political power.
All right.
right there. It's either he's telling the truth right there.
That's what I'm
or
saying.
he's lying to us
That's
to get us.
that's
That's where I'm tied up.
That's 3 weeks. Well, so take it for logically. You don't know the man. You never met him. I'm assuming you don't hang out. You don't have his phone call. You don't really know him. So what has it been your whole life with politicians? You have to hear them and listen, right? That's it. So what has been when Bush got up running back, if you could remember that, Bush said a bunch of stuff, and what did he do compared to what he said? And then you can look at Obama. What did Obama, I can tell you Obama's 5 big promises. Shut down Gitmo. Is Gitmo shut down? Hell no.
No, right.
Pull out all the troops out of Iraq. I mean, he talked to these great things. Hope and change, man. Hope and change.
Yeah.
All everyone had after was some change in their pocket. That was about it. Change. So that was all lies. That's what we wrap that up as every other politician gets on, makes a bunch of broken promises and lied. Now, Trump, that was about 3 weeks before he won that speech there, talking about I'm a former insider. Now, if you listen to all his build-up speeches, he talked about making America great again. He talked about the border and doing all these things. I think that he talked about draining the swamp as well. And a lot of that has happened. A lot of people, ain't nobody been arrested yet. But, well, arrests are easy. Destroying the institutions is another matter. But the arrest, I mean, there's been 58, I think, gone from the DOJ, FBI. I can go through the list. There's been a lot. Has it all been drained? I don't think so. A lot has. I don't know.
On top of the draining, he's appointed over 200 conservative judges to all the different tiers and court. So that, I mean, that is something
they're saying he's done more than any other president. Some people that have the numbers and stuff, and then you can get into, well, some of that comes from Obama. We can play that whole game of whatever, but honestly, some are saying he's done more already in 3 years than some presidents in 8 or something. So I don't know.
But he's not done anything that's that freaked out. I mean, he's done good things for us. Don't get me wrong, but for the Democrats to be so freaked out that they're like, we have to get rid of him because he's going to the America will crash and fall. We're doing better than we ever have. Employment is down. Unemployment is way down. We're doing better than we ever have. Right.
The illusion. Your guy was on last night with see. There's rules to the game. You can't just dupe us that bad. Like, we really do have free will. Like, there are rules. They have to let us vote. The only thing they do is try to manipulate us in the head before you go vote. So I firmly believe the establishment, the deep state, the Illuminati, whatever you want to put, the deep state has such a deeper meaning, folks. That's a household name that Trump has made. And if you look into what it really involves, it's much deeper. But if you just want to keep it at deep state, we'll use that word. But deep state, these people would sit back in June of the year before the election, like coming up. And if they're 2 front runners, the deep state player that's in the Republican Party, and you have the deep state player that's in the Democratic Party, if those 2 are the nominations from like the Republican Party and the Democratic Party announced in June coming up, they sit back and are chilling because they're like, man, no matter what, we got our front runner guys on each side, so they did win already. What happened with the Trump one, I believe, is they didn't. They had the Hillary and then this non-establishment, and that's what freaked them out. And then Trump actually won.
They really thought she was going to win, so no one saw it coming. And then the American people really came out, and yeah, go ahead.
So no, you're fine. I would like to tell you this real quick as well. Like in 1978. Just to give you a little quick background on Trump. You might have heard the story. Maybe some of the audience has, but I'm going to say it again, and I'll do it pretty quick. In 1978-79, Trump was opening up his Trump gambling down in Atlantic City, right? So he went down there and scouted out the land and all that, and then months looking into the land and the area, then he went and visited the FBI on his own behalf back in like 1979, and he said, look, I'm looking at opening up a casino here in Atlantic City. I'm looking at this area of land. And he told him everything. And he said, if I do, the mob's going to come infiltrate the casino. And they're going to want in and, take 10% out the back door like they do. And the FBI's like, yeah, so what do you want? And he's like, I'm thinking if I do open this, I'll let the mob in. But I'd also maybe a couple of you guys can be in there too from the get-go. And I'll, make you some FBI pit bosses. And I'll let the mob come in and whatever they make me do and tell me, I'll let it go on. And the FBI is like, this is interesting. If you decide to break ground, come talk to us. Well, we know that.
So he's basically saying, well, I'll let you run surveillance on these guys from within.
Yeah. Trump, before he ever even broke ground, was thinking that this area was infested with mob. He knew Atlantic City. He talked to people.
Yeah.
Was, I guess if, he knew things and he wanted to get business down there in the form of a casino. But yeah, he ahead of time went to the FBI and pitched a plan to them. If I do, will you do this? And set up the whole kind of co-op sting. So they said, yeah, it sounds great. If you do this, talk to us. So we all know that casino got built. Now Hillary makes fun of, hey, a casino go bankrupt. Well, he might have had all the things set to pay out. Who cares? He wanted to take down crime. He didn't really care about having a casino. So he opened up this casino. The mob came in like he thought, and the FBI was there. And after 2 or 3 years, nobody got arrested daily. It was all at the end. Boom. The whole mob went down and taken out. The FBI backs out because they're done. Trump's left standing the whole time, making money, profit, and doing well and whatever. I'm just saying that's his mentality. That was called The Art of the Informant. It's not a book or anything. It's kind of a deeper article I found online. It's all true. So that's just Trump's mentality. Now you can go into Giuliani in the early 80s as well and taking down mobs, and his, life was threatened many a time. You're taking down the mob. Same thing. They took down over, I don't know, a couple thousand. It looks like I just froze up.
Yeah,
you're still there.
But I can still hear you.
Good thing I'm not doing the crazy
I'm
O face.
I know, yeah. Good thing you didn't have the O face.
So I don't know what's going on. I'm having some computer glitching up here, folks, but we'll keep on going.
And I'm probably driving your people crazy because I'm like trying to mount my camera differently, and so never mind. I guess I'll do that later.
So what is your thoughts on like you said, I guess an insider, and isn't anything that we have corruption wise kind of from an insider or a possible like dissenter of that? If you have like a corrupt church or in your own life, you probably they're pilfering money over there, man. You're like, really? Like, I mean, does that make you hate the institution or possibly the people involved, or what's your stance?
Yeah, no, I think the whole I mean, to be honest, you're like, okay, he's an insider, so he's saying he's going to now. I wonder why he didn't get to go swimming with the fishes because it seems like the mob would have found out he talked to the FBI and set them up, and that'd be a good way to to catch a couple bullets in your head. But I'm not saying that didn't happen. I'm just saying, wow, that was ballsy of him. Him coming out on that one clip and saying I was an insider. Now they're mad I'm leaving. I think when he says insider too, he just means he knew how the inside baseball. He knew he rubbed shoulders with all the big people. I don't think that means I was an insider on the inside of the whatever you want to call it, the deep state, really hearing updates and planning and all that. I don't think that's what he meant by deep state or by insider as much as he meant I know the other side. I was in that group. I was in that, you know what I mean? I was in that circle, if you will.
Yes.
That's what I think he means by that. And he's saying now they're pissed that I'm leaving because I want to do good for the American people, which I think he does want to do good for the American people, but he also is about Trump. We'd be silly to think he was very altruistic. Trump's kind of egotistical, but that's kind of what we need. We kind of need that guy that does, and he does that, but he also is, I believe, really seriously wanting America to do well, because if America does well, his businesses do well, and his namesake does well. And so he is, I think, pulling for the good of the people. I do believe that, I
would like to have a little bit of hope as well, and people are like, you don't have to be delusional, but
right.
Here's the way I put it. I mean, before Trump got into office, did you think the government and the world was just a blissful, great place? No. Like he's the cause for the last 3 years has been the main concern of issue, or what? What's your take on that as well? With was the world a blissful place before Trump?
No.
The 30-year politicians weren't doing the job, or what?
Yeah, absolutely no, man. No, we were going down the world of global. We were rushing headlong into globalization and that one world government, that one world order that from Bush on has been talked about by every single president, right? And we were headed full head steam into that. And Trump came in the mix. He's like, whoa, time out. No, American first. Now he could do better for America first in some ways, I believe, and we won't get into those right now. He could do better in these things, but he's doing more for America first and American people and stopping that globalization one world order train than I believe anybody else has done. So I'm not saying he's without fault, but I'm saying, damn it, he's trying to do better for the American people, and for us, we need to understand that that's a good thing. And it's also, like I said earlier, he couldn't get, it's been hard for him to get much done. And he's like, well, he can't keep a cabinet member. Everyone keeps, well, he finds out that these cabinet members don't really have his back and that they're really not for him. And so he dumps this person off.
That's what I'm saying. That is deep state at its worst. So we know 96% of DC did not vote for Trump. That's crazy. It's like, whoa, 96% of the area down there. Well, yeah, there's deep state. I mean, people are acting like, well, there's a Republican Party. That is a game. That guy you had on last night was dead on ball. I'm not a Republican, folks, and my channel knows that here. I've never claimed to be Republican. I have taken myself. I'm a constitutionalist, and I will always listen to everybody, and that's all we have. You can't listen to. They all lie. If I had to say what I see difference with Trump. I see this system mad at him. Of course, I see people, but it's more like corporation, Wall Street, the Hollywood. I see a game almost, no matter if he does right or not. It's like if he cannot do right. So something's, I would be more concerned if all of a sudden the media started being very blissful and likable with them.
You know what? That would be what their gain is, because, and I've said this from the beginning, if the media wanted to get on his side and the politicians that are against him wanted to get on his good side, they just need to start saying good things about him. And there's where I'm worried he would flip, honestly, a little bit.
Yeah.
Because he is kind of so into his ego that he would flip as soon as, if people were being nice to him, he'd be like, oh, that was the best comment ever. He was fantastic to me. He was wonderful. He was amazing. He likes the Trump, And so I've always said, if you guys want to get on his good side, start talking nice about him. You want to stay on his bad side and have him talk shit, then don't, So my worry was that they were going to warm up to him. And I was going to be like, I hope he's smart enough to see they're just kissing ass. They don't really support him. That's been my whole thing. And I would have to say I'm not a Republican. Like, I would have to come out and say that too. I mean, I am conservative, and unfortunately the two-party system, I vote Republican most of the time, but I am much more constitutionalist, libertarian-esque, right? And everyone's like, libertarians are idiots. Well, maybe I don't know enough about libertarians, but I know they're for small government. I know they're for no war. I know they're for sound monetary policies. So those are the kind of things, that I'm for, like not this fiat money and not us being in every war and, the government crawling up our butt and being able free speech. So those are the things when I say I'm libertarian, that's what I mean. But I definitely would be more constitutional than I am even Republican. Because you take the Marco Rubios, you take these establishment Republicans that are rhinos, however you want to call them, they fucking make me sick. Sorry, I don't know if I'm supposed to swear.
No, you're fine.
But, okay, they make me sick. And
you hit the nail on the head there. I probably line up more with Republicans or the conservative because of my border, my Second Amendment. So there, a lot of times people, Trump supporter, full on Republican, and I'm like, I guess that lines up a lot more with my views. So yes, I did vote for Trump this last time because I got in tune. I thought pretty quick to hear. I was hearing things that I liked, and again, it's that. Well, I'm hearing things I like, but I hope he does that. And I started hearing this corruption talk, things that really resonated with what I knew to be true. So so let's put it this way now. So the other angle and something else when I started my channel was the Q thing, and I took a lot of heat for just reading them straight up. There's other channels that were like, read the little mystical breadcrumb and then come back with what I think that means is and they'd come up with false dates so there's been a lot of bad Q decode. Some people don't believe in it at all, so therefore they can put it away. I don't know why some channels that don't believe in it decide to just keep talking about it because it's like me, I don't really look at CNN stuff, so therefore I don't show it and I don't talk about it. I don't make a channel based all on about how bad CNN's articles are. But so you come to your own conclusions on things that you look at in the intelligence gathering when you're going to look, if you feel like you're getting bad intel and it's not pursuant to what you're looking at, then you would put it to the side and possibly not use that source anymore. I, in my own conclusions, haven't come to that with the Q. I don't listen to other decodes of it. And a lot of times
I haven't followed Q enough. I watched a few. I downloaded or bookmarked one of the thread posts, and I would earlier in the year, probably in the beginning of 2019, was reading them a little bit just because I was like, oh, this is interesting. I'm not pro or against it. I'm not like, because I don't know everything Q says or whatnot. But and I don't know if is a different disinformation is if it isn't. That's the problem, that we just can't trust our government because they've lied to us so many damn times. So I'm not opposed to it, and I'm like, okay, I'm open to it. I'm kind of like,
no,
that's how I.
The disinformation and the propaganda is real, and that's right in the media. So we know that exists now. As far as I don't know, still what's going on here. I can't get a desktop capture to show. That's kind of funny. There it is. Wait, let me see here. Change this on the fly.
I was up to 571, 1571 or 72, and then I said something and dropped me back down to 1562. 10 people were like, "Nope, I don't like him," and the
got a couple clicks, and then they clicked right off.
Yeah, they're like, "No, actually, I don't like this."
Should have waited to the end of this to really make my decision. All right, so I'll show you one here. This is a good one. This is Trump's official, and I don't know if you know much about Twitter.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so when you have like the little thing here at the
check mark,
yeah, it's just their official, right? So we know we're on the official Trump Twitter here. All right, so this is one people like to use. This is from November 8th after 2017. I'll show you one little quick proof here out of the hundreds. We can go through hundreds of these, but I'll show you this one. This is a good one to chump on. Okay, so this came about 10 days after Q started. This is congratulations to all the deplorables Trump tweets, Now, some people just take this picture alone and do the thumbs with if you were to make a marking here and with these thumbs, you can kind of do a circle. And then with this lower thumb of this guy coming outward, it would make a Q. All right, it's, oh, wow, how stupid. No, it's pretty dumb. But if you look at the time here, Trump posted it at 1:17. We know 17 equals Q. And then the date, of course, November 8th of 17, the year, but just the time, 1:17. Oh, that's Q, man. Okay, that's interesting. But now if you go to download this off of Trump's official page here, if I right click on it and just say save image, it generically comes up with this do it Q naming. So now you can't name, because I can do this. If I was to come to us here, I'm gonna do a quick Photoshop of our vMix intro. Good.
It's kind of crazy.
So now if I just took a screen capture of us right here real quick.
Right.
For example, let me come back to the Twitter. We'll go. All right, we'll just do this. So I come back here, home. Let's say I'll just take this Robert Knorr. I got his photo here, right? It's called Capture. Even if on my desktop, if I rename it and I name it Patriot Hour. So now I save that as Patriot Hour. I'm on my page here. I'm going to take a photo. I got your audio back up too, by the way. All right, so I'm going to take this Patriot Hour. Boom, I put Robert Knorr. And I tweet it. I'm going to tweet it. Boom, I just tweeted it. So now it's out there. Now, what do we name that? Patriot Hour? I'm going to right click and save the image right back off. Look how it comes up from Twitter. It comes up with its own random code. ECHOCHO-DO-DO-DO-DO. I got no option. So Twitter, when you put something in there, is going to name it according to their own algos to keep it in line with not stepping on other toes of other photos in their system. Now on your own computer, you can do whatever the hell you want. So again, 1 week after the Q started, and you got all the 17s kind of in here, which, whatever. It's coincidence, man. It's just coincidence. I get that. But the save image, again, for the algorithm to come up randomly with do it Q in caps, and then J8, and then the very last one Q. I don't know. All right. Just more coincidence, maybe. But,
and then it had the A's there for maybe a non, too.
What's that?
Non. They had the A's in the lineup there, dude. That's interesting, man. I wonder.
So that's
if somebody
one. That's just one. All right, and we can go on and on forever. And that's so. If you've been like me following along for 2 years, and as each little thing came out like that, there was a lot.
Yeah.
And I haven't, like I said, let me go back here real quick. Let me see if I pull that down. Got the chats up. Let me pull. That up. All right, you're still with us, right? All right. So, for example, like this was the one the other night. So you get, was Obama lending insurgency against the United States? This is post 3,882. And literally it just links to a actual state gov document here. It's a U.S. government counterinsurgency guide from January of 2009, really quickly when Obama just got into office. And it, it has a preface here. It tells you in the recent years, the United States has engaged in prolonged counterinsurgency campaigns in Afghanistan and Iraq. This executive summary: insurgency is an organized use of subversion and violence to seize, nullify, or challenge political control. Insurgency is not always conducted by a single group with centralized military-style command structure, but may involve in a complex matrix of different actors with various aims, loosely connected, dynamic, and hierarchical organization. So anyway, he quotes, insurgency is organized use of subversion, violence to seize, nullify. And then it goes at the bottom here, what country was the true intention of this target? The presidency of Barack Hussein Obama began at noon Eastern Standard on June 20th of 2009 when Barack Obama was inaugurated as the 44th president. So it can at least, I don't see any issue with a post to a state gov document that's talking about some insurgency stuff. I might have not have found this little document otherwise. And then to look at it and to get something out of it possibly.
Well, you got to think of, all the stuff he did with the Muslim Brotherhood and all the people he put into, control there with the Muslim Brotherhood.
His background, why is it all blocked? Why is all his college stuff got paperwork, and he moved really quickly when he got to be president. He did these things to shield background. I mean, that, when they want to bitch about Donald Trump or something on these other angles, they did not, it was not equal coverage, folks.
No, it's always double standard. Everything is completely, and then they bitch at us when we talk about what aboutism, but everything about them, man, is complete double speak, of every single thing they do. It seems like it's double speak all the time.
Real quick, if you looked at you've looked at it, the Constitution, and it tells us, it's like our God-given right. If the government becomes too abusive, not a government of the people for the people anymore, but a government of itself, for itself, by itself, about itself, all about itself. It's our God-given right to restart it. They hit the restart switch, like on a computer it's our right. But at this point we talk about what weapons you have, what the government has. They got tanks. I mean, Biden said it, we got Hellfire missiles will come down on your ass. I mean, you got your AR ain't gonna save you. He even said it. So we get that. It's bad. A government can really.
Then why does it matter if we keep them?
Yeah, exactly. Because we don't want you harming your neighbor. Or something, Stu. Nothing makes sense, folks. You don't negotiate, like you said. It's the Second Amendment's there to protect us against a treasonous government, And then you got the government up on stage telling you need to turn them in. Well, they're not treasonous. You can take out the fact that they're not treasonous. So therefore it's a non-treasonous government asking for your guns back, and you're going to give them to them. Okay, now when they do become treasonous, if they're not in your own eyes as of right now, you're going to ask for your guns back from the treasonous government at the time that they're treasonous?
Well, what about the fact that everyone says, Trump is Hitler and Trump is a Nazi and Trump is a dictator?
Throw their guns
He's never going to come out of and it's like, but we need to let's give all of our guns away right now, even though we have somebody who is the most dangerous president that ever has been. That makes a lot of sense.
These same people that said if he won, there would be rioting in the street, cars flipped over, and buildings burnt, literally are the ones out there with the mask on. That's what they failed to tell you. Because if you saw the burning and the flipping and you went up and ripped the guy's mask off, oh my God, it was you. I did an interview with you like week. You told me if he won, there'd be rioting, pillaging, and all this stuff. I thought you were just predicting. I didn't ever know it would be you doing it. And they're like, well, that's besides the point. I told you. Also the same thing, like you said, they'll throw guns at his feet, like take them. And then if Trump picked it up, they'd be articles, oh, Trump's taking the gun. And it's like, well, you threw him at his feet and he had to pick it up or he would trip. Well, it doesn't matter. He took them. They're making him Hitler. They want to make him that by creation, if need be. I imagine.
Yeah, no, it's insane, man. It's insane.
So again, in my research into the New World Order, if this one world government system was creeping in and they were really pushing for it, I didn't see a way out of it. Like if a good patriot like myself or yourself, you try to organize a plan to stop it, they would label you a terrorist really quickly. They take some stock footage of you on the news and say, SJG, known terrorist. If you see him pumping gas, he's considered armed and dangerous. Call your local police. They would make you such to be a monster within a matter of 5 minutes that your own mother, if you knocked on the door, would call the police to get you out of her house. So there was no chance. Yeah, there was no chance for that. So if it is a plan of Trump in there and he snuck in, he's being backed by some patriots, some there are smarter people sometimes than the liars or the evildoers out there. It's all plausible. It really is. It is all plausible that Trump could be a businessman that earned a lot of money, that rubbed a lot of shoulders, did a lot of business deals with these same people. He heard things, he didn't like it. I believe he wrote that book in '99 because he was probably at some little function and some guy that's smoked too many Cuban cigars and drank too much 1800 wine, whatever the hell they were doing, loose-lipply said, well, we're going to be going into Iraq soon and we're going to be, like, laid out this plan loose-lipply to Trump. Or he bought the information with money. I don't know, but he got the game plan because everything is, orchestrated.
Or he's just worked since, like you say, he's a businessman and he's rubbing shoulders. He's like, enough is enough. I see where this is going.
Yeah.
I see where this is going, and I'm stepping in. I'm gonna screw this. Yeah.
Can people not do that? We know. Do you know people in your own life that have done bad things to you? Maybe went to prison, served some time, but now they do the right thing. I mean, it's not implausible. People change. Folks, when you find out, if you join something, know absolutely nothing about, we call this like an organization. You can join the Freemasons. You can join your local church. You can join your local legion. I had corruption at my local legion. I became aware of it. I could have been complicit. I could have walked away, turned the blind eye, the cheek, and just never said nothing, or stop it and take it down. I took the third route. Stop it, take it down. Very simple. I came to a crossroads in my life. I made a decision, and I followed through with it. Lots of people do that. All right, you join something, you don't know what you're part of. Do you stick it out? Does it mean the whole thing's bad? The whole legion's around every one of them around the whole country are evil. I didn't think that. I knew. I'm logical, very logical. So I know we probably went over the hour mark. I don't care. It's Sunday. Great time. You got anything you want to wrap up or tell the audience?
Other than this has been a great time to learn a little more about you and whatnot. And I'd like us to do a little, maybe deep dive into like 9/11 sometime or something like that, that I can really bring some.
I'm all for that, brother.
Yeah, let's do that. Because I'll talk to you offline. It's suspicious, plausible, or sensible, what I was telling you earlier, where it says 9/11 intersecting facts and theories. And it takes the official story, you know, and it takes the things like the war games that were conducted on 9/11. And it takes like this, you know, slow Bush and Secret Service response to the attacks. And it takes like, you know, lack of Pentagon response to incoming aerial threats.
Yes.
You know, I'm talking like the demolition of the buildings, right? Anyways, it has all these different, like 50 of them, and it rates those with, is it suspicious, plausible, or sensible with the official story? And 90% of them come out suspicious, and most people, they don't. So anyways, it's a really good layout. We should go through it one by one, maybe even do a weekly series where we get on and for an hour and we talk about this.
I'm all for that. Folks, every year for September 11th, since this channel's only been 2 years, so I've done 2 videos, being that I was kind of involved in 9/11, and it's, you know, we got stuck down there on my ship of 6,000 people for a few weeks. When I came back to Norfolk, the base was changed. I mean, it was no longer an open base to the public. Even wives and stuff couldn't get on the base to pick up your loved ones. We pulled back into a ghost town, one of the hugest bases, the hugest base on the East Coast, empty ghost town, and had to walk. You know, they had buses to get us off the base to family. But my point is, that's been the most attacked videos I've had. The 2 I've done with YouTube, I've gotten strikes over them. I don't know for what reason. The last one I did this last year, just a couple months ago, right in September. Again, it got me. I lost live for 90 days over it. It was crazy, and I read an article about they were opening up a new thing into Building 7. We all know Building 7 had no planes, no gas, no volatile jet fuel, but still fell on its own footprint damn near. Now
at free fall speed.
At free fall. And I talked about that and about how this one college was reopening something into it, and you could submit evidence. That's all the article was about. And YouTube had such a hissy fit because they don't like you talking about these narratives, folks.
D-Live, man. That's where we're going to have to bring all your 700 watchers over to D-Live and do it up on D-Live, because then we can just say whatever the hell we want to. And but yeah, for sure, no. But yeah, no, wrapping up, I appreciate you letting me come hang out with you, dude. I had a blast, and I'd love a chance to do it again. And so yeah,
a little bit better. We you know, on our other panel, I know we've never had this kind of engagement to talk, and you know a little bit more about my channel. You said the same with you, and I think you bring some great perspective, SJG perspective to the whole thing that we're doing here, folks. Again, you're not going to agree with everything I say ever. I know, you know, and that's just how it works. There's so many different people out here, and we're all trying to bring it, and we all have our passions as well. I know there's channels that are all about chemtrails, because that's a real huge passion, and I do not knock that. I cover a variety of a little more, and same with SJG, but we are going to possibly start this 9/11 thing in the future. I have a lot going on from now till August. I could still manage, you know, I know I got the Monday night panel, but I do have things coming up with different people and pre-recorded. I got to get with our artist that's coming down and give him some time. So that's what I have going on this week. I got to get with him. But anyway, we'll talk. Stick by.
All right,
I'll or you can jump out and we'll talk on the phone. Let's just do it that way. I'm having some glitching here, so I'm going to shut this down, folks. Thanks for stopping in. Yep.
Yeah,
SJG.
thank you. I love the support, and again, thanks, Mike, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, brother.
All right.
And there you guys have it. What a great live stream here on Sunday night. We appreciate you joining in with us, folks. Never take what we say here to be 100% truth or 100% fact. We try. We don't bring lies. That's the difference. You know what lying is when, like, a journalist knows something to be not true and just delivers it to you anyway. And the difference with a lot of our channels, like myself here, SJG and these others, they bring you facts, things we dig into that we've pretty much verified to the most that we can and landed on that to be fact. That's not us bringing something that we know to be a lie. That is a lot different in the game of truth telling, not being a straight up liar. All right, I'm going to shut this one down, folks. I am having very just different issues with the computer this evening. So ever since I did the updates, never trust the updates, folks. They you think your computer's built right, then you find out that things are plugged into the wrong area for a few years, and then you make some switches and you do some upgrades, and that was the case here. All right, I had a awesome graphics card plugged into just one port wrong. Not that it wasn't right, it worked, but it's always better to have if you have your first port available for a graphics card, to use that one. All right, I'm not going to bore you guys with all the technical things that go on, but I have to do it, so therefore maybe you can hear it a little bit. All right, so anyway, made lots of changes. I upgraded some things, and you'd think I'd be better off, but I've had nothing but issues since. So hopefully they work themselves out, and I need to redo the computer anyway and just do a rebuild, nuke it down to nothing from scratch, and come back up with it and make sure I get all those other updates right away, and it should be a better build. All right, so I'm going to be doing that in the next few days. It definitely has to happen before August. Other than that, I'm going to look at a few comments here. Lori, I see we had Face, Danielle Bird, some of the mods in the house, Wendy Rosebud, Danielle Bird, Frank Bolin, Lori M. Thank you guys for being here tonight. Melody Ann, Randy Robbins, and just a ton of the members. Again, JT Wild, he will be at the Patriot Fest. He's going to be our event, providing entertainment, singing. It's going to be a great time. Other than that, we're going to have people like Ben, our buddy John get up. There's going to be a host of others. Grillin, I think, is bringing his instrument, so he'll be picking with everybody. It's going to be a great time. By the bonfire after, we'll probably do another little live stream with the bonfire. So, all right, I'm going to shut this one down, folks. Again, thank you for being with us this evening, and have a great evening. Enjoy your Sunday. Back to the grind tomorrow. God bless.
Recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive.